Hey everybody, this is JDGaming back today with a multitasking video on Flames of Destruction. So on the left you see my pack opening of the Korean OCG box that I recently did, but that's at double speed because I finally got one of these things before TCG did, and I did all this excited speculative talking and side tangent discussions and everything, and the video ended up being a monstrous 24 minutes long, and I don't want to bog down your day, so we're just going to get rid of the audio for that, make it double speed, cut it half the length, and then on the right side I wanted to talk about just interesting cards from the set that stood out to me for one reason or another. So you'll see the image, the text below it. I'll give a brief description since again all that information you need for text and everything is up there for you anyway. But yeah, these are just my personal perspective points on some of these cards in alphabetical order, no priority and preference or anything. So first off, we have Ultrageist Multi-Faker. I don't play this archetype, but it's based on traps, and Lilith just came out, so I think that's a very timely release, and OCG had this card basically bring Ultrageist into the competitive scene, so realize if you haven't seen this deck yet, you might soon, so you know, something to potentially watch out for if you're going to events in the near future. And if you want to play this deck, it's an ultra rare, so that means you're probably going to be able to access it fairly easily. Just watch out and ride the hype waves carefully so you're able to trade or buy it very easily at a lower point in the cycle. Then we have Called by the Grave. I won't belabor this one because everyone knows what this thing does by now, but it's a common, and you know, considering this thing at the power level to easily be sided, if not main decked, definitely get your copies when you can, and don't be surprised if a lot of people are playing this against you and you're not prepared. You know, do realize this card now exists to the masses coming up. Then we have Element Sabre. This one is La Pauila Mana, which was originally called Willard in OCG. La Pauila Mana just sounds like Polynesian or something to me. But basically, this card I put in here because I think it's very neat that this archetype seems to represent, well, it seems to parallel the Dragon Rulers in a lot of ways. Like, it's bringing all these attribute-themed cards together. Whether you make a deck with just all the Element Sabers and Lords, or you decide to go and choose a few of them a la Magic the Gathering, you know, just dual colors or whatever. It'd be pretty interesting to see what can come out of this archetype. And the Elemental Lords, you know, speaking of those, Forsorage, or in TCG Phosphorage, is the new Light Elemental Lord. He's a Raigeki, which is still banned in OCG, and that's why he's got this effect here. Don't forget, Light Sworns are a thing. Batterymen could play this thing, honestly, because they got Batteryman Solar in here. Lots of different things exist that can use Forsorage, so watch out for this card. If it's not in the main, it could be in the side. 2800 body that comes down to Raigekis, you can end games out of nowhere, so do realize, you know, this is a super in this set, and it's very accessible to players of all different levels. And as a side note, Grandsoil the Elemental Lord is going to get a reprint in the summer in the Flames of Destruction Special Edition, and he's confirmed to have the once per turn errata for his text, which means he'll probably come off of the Forbidden list following that release of the product. So yay, I can finally play Grandsoil again in some Earth decks. Then we have Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion. Everyone knows this. It's another Ghost Girl, follows Ash Blossom. Basically, it's the Earth Ash Blossom that works on the graveyard. So your opponent can't recycle from the grave, special summon from the grave, which is very relevant with all of the Monster Reborn effects in Flames of Destruction, and they can't banish from the grave. So that's really important right there, because I think that's the thing that sets this card apart from Called by the Grave in a lot of specific decks, where you can protect yourself from Called by the Grave using this thing, whereas a Called by the Grave won't save you from Called by the Grave. So if your deck is really susceptible to that, and maybe you want just another card that combos with your zombies or with your scapegoat tokens or other earth monsters, so you can make Nat Beast, you know, if you want to make more proactive plays with a tuner monster and you want that defense, Ghost Spell does have a lot of stuff to offer because of its versatility, so definitely don't write this off as an inferior Called by the Grave, because it has a lot of potential still. Then we have Great Fly, so if you're playing wind archetypes like Harpies or Magispectors, rejoice because you finally get your link to support. And then Infinite Impermanence, I basically boil this down to, it is a hand trap that you effect failure your opponent, but if you set it first as a trap, it shoots a laser beam forward and negates that monster and blocks the spell or trap behind it. And I like the artwork of whatever's happening to Cyber Dragon Infinity here. Either he's evolving from Nova into Infinity, or Infinity is evolving into something else, or he might just be getting hit by effect failure. I don't know. Lots of things could be happening here, but I think it's neat as a card overall. And then we have Iron Dragon Tiamaton. So this thing's really neat. It really reminds me of Gore's as this revolutionary new mechanic that may or may not change how people play the game. Essentially, it's a special summon only monster, but it's a quick effect that says if there are 3 cards in a column, you could summon this to that column and blow up everything there, and while he's on the field, those columns, or that column, can't be used other than his own zone. So that's really neat for 2 reasons. First, if you think of Mech Knights, they rely on having 2 cards in a column already. So then if they summon their Mech Knight as the 3rd card and you drop this as a quick effect, boom, everything's gone and they can't use that. So that's a potential use, even if it does kill some more of your own cards that the Mech Knights fed off of. But on top of that, the extra deck mechanic with the extra monster zone is so crucial right now. If you're able to go and summon your own extra monster, then that's something you either don't want to lose, or don't mind losing, or want to lose in the column of your opponent's extra monster zone. They summon their link monster, they summon an extra monster under it, either to co-link or just, because the arrow points there. You could suddenly drop this, lock them out of their extra monster zone, and have a 2000 beater on top of your extra deck monster and whatever else you're able to summon the next turn. You could probably sweep them and end the game. So definitely a powerful card. If nothing else, this means that you want to make sure, if you're already playing pendulums, you're kind of stuck on the left and right zones, but choose the middle zone to set your traps first if you can, because if you set into your open extra monster zone between this guy and the Mech Knights, you're just opening yourself up to your opponents getting free plays. So do keep that in mind. Column play may start being a little more important with this card. If nothing else, I think I'll probably see some side deck play. Then we have the Nightmares. So we're starting off with Corruptor Lee here. Basically debris dragons for a link monster, but makes its attack and defense 0 and negates its effects. And you can only link summon while you control Lee. But the cool thing is you can link Lee with a 2 or 3 you just summoned to make it into a 3 or 4. And that's really neat. Then Lee was sent to the grave so you could summon it to your opponent's field, and they can't do anything besides link summon. So they either have to awkwardly get rid of it to link, they either fail to link entirely because they weren't playing them, or they have to get rid of it first before they can kaiju your board or do other special summons. So lots of really cool things come out of this card. Yeah, it's, okay right now. It's pretty good, it has potential, but I feel like this card can only grow as we get better link monsters in the future on top of what we're already getting in these Nightmares. So do keep an eye on this card. The other Nightmares, basically we have Mermaid, who's a link 1. You can only summon her using anything that's not Mermaid. And she has effects like lower attack and whatnot. Then you have Cerberus and Phoenix are link 2s, and they basically destroy monsters and spell and traps respectively. But the rest of these guys I want to talk very briefly in a little more detail, just because they are very good. All these link monsters are generic. They need 2 or more monsters with different names, so you can use tokens as long as you have something else. Lots of different ways you're able to use this card in any deck, and that's the insane thing. They all follow a pattern of when it's link summoned, you discard a card to activate an effect, and if it was co-linked at that time, you draw a card to replace the card you discarded. Then, if it remains co-linked, you get a continuous effect to support your board. Goblin basically says, discard a card to Gemknight Seraphknight extra normal summon into a zone he points to without Brilliant Fusion in your deck, which is really cool, and it has been confirmed that this card does not require the co-link, like the article originally said on the Konami blog, in order to gain that effect. But what you do gain when you're co-linked is that extra draw, and your co-linked monsters can't be targeted, so it gives extra protection. So very easy to drop in a lot of decks. Definitely excited to see this card as only an ultra and not a secret in the TCG, because this card easily could have been a secret for us. Then we have Unicorn, which lets you discard a card, target a card on the field, and spin it back to the deck. Yeah, it targets, but it gets rid of something permanently, essentially, without destroying it, so that's really good. And then its continuous effect is for all of your co-linked monsters with different names, you draw a card in your draw phase instead of your normal draw. So you have 2 guys together, you have Pot of Greed. You have 3, you just draw 3. It's insane what this card's able to do, again, as a generic link 3, so definitely keep this card on your radar. And then Griffin is basically Firewall Dragon, except it needs 2 different monster names, but same stat line and everything. You can recycle a spell or trap by discarding a card, and then that card can't be played that turn, but traps are alive anyway. You can bring power spells back, like a Lure of Darkness or Bot of Desires, or something central to your theme, which is always cool. And then its continuous effect skill drains anything that's not a linked monster, if it was special summon. So special summon monster that's not linked onto the board just loses all of its abilities, and that makes it really hard to take down Griffin or the rest of your board, so you could probably win off of a card like this. So very powerful as a generic set of monsters. Definitely play them if you can, because again, you can change your main deck in a lot of different ways from whatever you're playing and probably fit these guys in. Then we have Bound Link, or Link Bound, I guess. It's a super rare card, very easy to get. It's basically reload for Link monsters, and it recycles a monster. So you recycle like a Saryuja or a Firewall, draw 4, return 4, helps you draw cycle, so it may give you just the cards you need to continue your plays. Obviously, it's a -1, but I think it still has interesting applications, just as a potential combo extender. Then we have Monster Reborn, which was originally called Selective Reborn. That makes a lot more sense in my opinion, because you select 3 monsters in your grave, your opponent chooses 1 for you to special summon, and the rest get banished. So with 3 Lone Fire Blossoms, until that gets hit, this is pretty good with that. Probably will get hit considering Symbols of Heritage is also already at 1 in the TCG. But you look at the other applications, play this in 60 card Lightsworns and choose Giant Rex with some other monsters, and now your opponent has to choose to give you 2 or 3 monsters instead of 1, and that's really awesome. If nothing else, it's just a Monster Reborn for a free Link material or something. It is once per turn, but it's a very good once per turn, I think so. Very powerful card to keep in mind, and this is the sneak peek card in the TCG. Then we have access to a new trap hole, network trap hole. I'm a fan of, because I like Myrmilio, I like Rafflesia, and I like Lilith. So, you know, play this on Soul Charge, and ooh, that's really rough. Just get rid of all your opponent's monsters, banish them face down without destruction. So I am probably going to tech this at some point in one of my decks. Then we have Red-Haired Hasty Horse. Basically, it's a free level 5 monster drop, and you can use it for a lot of different summons, which is really cool. And you can attack for 1,000 damage if you need to end the game in that way. Red Reboot is again another hand trap. You could pay 1,000, or not, sorry, not 1,000, half your life. I was thinking 4,000, but half your life in order to activate this from your hand if it's not set already. But basically, block your opponent's trap card, negate it, set it face down again, and no more traps can be played that turn while the computer is still rebooting, and you know, it basically blue screens your opponent's plans, and it makes FTK decks able to play this game in a different way from before, so it's very exciting and scary at the same time, but it's only a super in TCG. Then we have Secondslight, only a rare. It's basically Pot of Greed and Upstart Goblin for decks that only play monsters and no other spells or traps because of its restrictive text. Then we have Batteryman Solar, or Solar Batteryman, like I mentioned before, so don't forget about this card. Dust off that old deck if you want to play it, because this is pretty good legacy support. Then we have Topologic Trisbana, which is basically Decode Talker for summoning conditions, but I like going and dropping Gamma Seal, banish the Gamma Seal, and your opponent's entire back row. This is the type of card that has staple level power for the side deck for sure, if not the mains extra. So do keep an eye on this. If you're playing a back row heavy deck, you need to watch out for this thing. And I just think it's interesting that it decided to go and have back row hate like this right after Lair of Darkness and back row support. So it'll be interesting to see where that tug of war ends up going, who ends up coming on top. Then we have Vampire Sucker, which is basically the Link 2 for vampires or for zombies. Don't forget, vampires are coming out in Dark Saviors, so that's pretty cool to look forward to. And this thing basically has a card of safe return effect once per turn, which is pretty sweet as well. Then we have Zenmaikon. The way I think of this is, hey, Zenmighty is banned still, and Shaddoll Construct, the Link monster, is coming out in the set as well. Oh, wait, what? Else Shaddoll Construct still banned? We have a ban list probably coming up soon, because, you know, April was the last time frame that this ban list was considered, like, guaranteed for. So yeah, don't be surprised if some of those cards come off of the Forbidden and Limited list. Yeah, we've had Exiton and that type of situation before in the past, but I think this is one of those things where they're signaling to us a lot of these cards will potentially come back, and if not, we did get these new support cards for the theme, so pretty cool to have. Then we have World Legacy Sorrow, which is Infernity Barrier for co-linked monsters, so quite accessible. Then we have World Legacy Succession, which is Monster Reborn if you have a Link Arrow available to you. And again, that's just Monster Reborn. Doesn't negate the effects of monsters. The only restriction is this card is a once per turn, heavy, like a hard once per turn, so do keep that in mind. But, you know, on top of Selective Reborn or Monster Reborn, Monster Reborn proper, and this, you have a lot of different ways that you can, you know, revive guys, but then you have Called by the Grave and Ghost Spell to stop them. Lots of really cool things. I'm wondering where this rock, paper, scissors type of scenario is going to go for deck building as this set rolls through and becomes more commonplace. And then finally, I want to talk just a moment about Yoshida Invader, because I think this mechanic is just hilarious, and that's why I'm talking about it. He starts in the middle monster zone, and he basically follows your opponent's monster every turn and blows up everything that he touches in the column, which is just a really funny card design. And once per turn, you can move him proactively left to right and blow things up. So blow up extra monster columns. Like, realistically, this is a tribute monster. Yeah, there are ways to cheat out a dark, I think is a fiend or whatever, but you know, he's not the most competitive card, but he's just funny to me. Like, the concept of this alien octopus thing just following your opponent's monsters is just bizarre, and it's one of the more intriguing cards that I've found in recent history with this game. So that's going to wrap it up for this discussion. It looks like the pack opening ended just a couple minutes ago there, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about this new format. Obviously, it's something different than what I've done, but I wanted to save you guys some time, but I wanted to still give you that pack opening experience in case you wanted it. And then this will hopefully give you some insight into some of the cards that I'm excited about. So really would like to hear your thoughts on format, if you have any suggestions on what to do for these things. And then if I did not talk about some of your favorite cards that you're excited about that, you know, we all should know about, let me know, and I'd be interested to see that stuff as well. So thanks guys, this is JDGaming. Hope you guys enjoyed as always, and I'll see you guys next time. That's the end of this video, but if you'd like to see more of this series, you can click the annotation on the right, or you can see the last video I did by clicking the one on the left. If you enjoyed, I encourage you guys to leave a like and share it with others you think who may enjoy it as well. And if you'd really like to see more updates, then subscribe to JDGaming for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Thanks guys, this is JDGaming, hope you guys enjoyed as always, and I'll see you guys next time.